This podcast aims to walk you through the world of geospatial data, or GIS, in a super simple way. And if you are a blue collar, wonder like what's going on, you're an engineer down the road of a route going around and use the navigation system, or if you're a project manager, either in software engineering or not, you may also find this interesting. As I wonder, like, what does this old geo thing, fancy words, geolocation, geospatial, why not spatial, would mean? So I'm trying to let you know in such a realistic yet simplified way that what are the potential challenges, the requirements, what are the geo or geospatial tool or spatial tool also would mean, and so on. Let's start first with the GIS. What is Geographic Information System? Another mouthful, huh? Yeah, like, look, you have used Google Map a lot, right? So I'm gonna show you another Google Map here. So in this image, this is absolutely a synthetic image. We also call it raster. Also on the left bottom side, there is a button that you can click and see, like this is a raster layer. This is a satellite view. And that one isn't imaginary, and this is absolutely correct. And it doesn't need, more of like the rectify. But this is like more simple. It's simple, like to see the features. And also in GIS, we have points as a layer. We have vectors. So if you have a road, there are lines. If you have for example, in this simplified task, as you see, like there are certain more features that would like to show. So in super simple way, GIS is the science or the technology, the sort of workflows that they all come together to overlay different layers and make the understanding or interpretation of the locations and distances or any other we call them geospatial features, easier. So if I just turn on I'm looking for a restaurant, or if I'm looking for a cycle path, as you can see, I'm trying to turn on those features. This suggests that Google offers a handy online tool for geospatial interpretation. So you try to understand how far you are and how to find further information. So you see, like there are some other images, features are associated, and these elements would add to the size of this image, which is another challenge. Speaking of challenges in the geospatial data analysis. So it makes the job little more challenging comparing to a typical engineering things in coordinations, for example, in the Newtonian dynamics, because I'm from mechanical engineer, and I recently involved in the machine learning, and by machine learning I meant convolutional neural network, another fancy word, which is the ultimate goal of this series of podcasts, but not for this video, which meant to be for non-technical users friendly, which is another challenge sometimes. But you heard, like you see, like some of the images have different formats, rather to be PNG or JPEG. They are TIFF, TIF, or more correctly that we should call them GeoTIFF, another fancy name. Yeah, so all we are talking about is this thing all the meridians lines, for example, that you can see. These are not the typical coordinate systems that you would do it in the Euclidean system. Like, say you are in Mars and you are obeying, trying to abide by some Euclidean space and coordination. But here you need to overlay them. As I said, the GIS is the science or the technology of techniques of that overlaying all the layers over a certain ground. So this ground is obviously like Earth. So this geo, I think, is another Greek name. Speaking of Greeks, I think I would like to travel you down the history back to the Alexander the Great. Yeah, of course, they never get the chance to travel to Australia. And yeah, so I think this land at that time was in the position of the Aboriginals or Strait Islanders. So they were, we do respect like these Torres Strait Islanders and Aboriginals as the original custodians of this land, elders, emerging, past, present. So speaking of like this land, you see like from the Perth to the very right, down to the very left. I mean, down to the very right, down to Sydney. You see like these meridian lines, which are semicircles, are supposed to pass through these points and give us some coordinations, but they all intersect in the South Pole. Another term is like you may wonder, so what about the Antarctica? I'm just talking about like the location, so not the continental land. Whereas once we go to the Sydney and Perth, they diverge to such a vast distance that may take like 5 hours nearly by flight. So basically, we need to do some projections and corrections, and that's another challenge in the world of GIS. So back to our story about the Alexander the Great area, they had such a problem as well, because they could see like a vessel goes farther and farther down the ocean and goes down and disappears ultimately, and it would make them wonder that what's going on, like. And it was not only the problem about the land boundaries of such a vast dynasty or empire. From east to west, they need to make some corrections. They would go to the elevated parts, top of the hill, and try to. Everything was earth-based, and I think they were the early people called Earth observers. So we are dealing with all these terms. So you may ask, like, I have a friend who is an oceanographist. So is he like a GIS person? Yeah, to some extent. So all these terms you need to get together to make the comprehensive work. So if you work like to our company, for example, to the Landgate that I do have respects, they located in Perth. This is one of the tools that's in the Western Australian. This is the property of the public sector in the Western Australia. And it tries to show like where the fires potentially would be in the past few hours, and also the wind speed and pattern. So they are called like this is called My Firewatch, and in the Earth observation they have did a lot of dedication to make it happen. So over there we had like the different screens, computers. We are all working on these geospatial tools. And it was a combination of oceanographists, people from physics who were also working with the remote sensing, satellites. So also in the different groups in the location services, for example, we had like the cadastral people. And I think every typical GIS related company would have the same thing one way or another. So they are not necessarily like geospatial people. They might be from software engineering, agriculture, and maybe like different also special background and skill set. So I hope this episode would give you a high level overview. So for the next one, we would go further down to the details of what's going on in the more technical terms and how to integrate the codes, the Python codes, for example, or AI to make this automation and magic, as you would like to call it, happen in it. Thanks for listening.